Now this is how I've been processing these persimmons. Initially I left those caps on, but I think I like it better when they're left when they're cut out like this. This one's slightly soft, and it's probably a bruised area right there. And it's ripening, because this was picked Monday, today's Friday. And it can be dried at this point, or halved. I've also did some as slices, like this. But the slices, the taste inconsistent. I think when they're halved, the flavor is better instead of cutting cross sections here. And the holes are done a little bit differently too. Now I've got this whole thing rigged up. Several shelves worth. And I don't have the top shelves filled right now, but they will be. I went ahead and turned off the fans and the dehydrators, which are over there. Had 3 of them going. And these were cut whole. See, they still have the stems on them. And look how soft they are. Whoops. Look how soft they are. And I kind of flatten them out, because when you buy them in the store, they're flattened like this. And they're kind of dusted. I don't know how that happens. But they're kind of... Here's one that's not flattened very well. And this is where, when I was cutting real thinly and left just a little bit of the skin, didn't go deep enough. And that's a piece of... Right there is a piece of skin. But this one earlier, I wasn't able to mash it down. It kind of looked like a morel mushroom. So now just kind of distributing the moisture in there. This has been peeled, and this actually was in the my oven at 150, which that was a mistake. I should have lowered the temperature. It's my first time using my oven as a dehydrator. I didn't realize I could lower it even lower than 150. I thought that was the lowest it would go. But see, these have all been peeled. And here we've got the halves. And they're in here drying to get them short enough to where I don't have to use a separator. And these are only so high, and there's a little bit of room before the bottom of the next tray takes over, but these are still too high. So I had some trays that were already falling apart, and I removed the centers so I could raise them up and they're not sticking to the tray above them. Whoops. So they lock in. These that's the one thing about getting these. You can I got most of these fairly cheap. I got another video on all my dehydrators. And I was using various cookie drying racks and things to put these on the shelf, because the gap is too much here on the stainless steel here. But like this one. See, earlier it wouldn't smash, so I'm coming back and checking these. So now that they've gotten a little bit of drying, air drying, they're small enough to where they can be put in. And here, this one, are all whole I need to go back through, are all whole persimmons, and letting them get donated out. And of course it takes longer. The whole ones take a whole lot longer. The slices overnight, but the flavor isn't as good. The halves are much better, but there's also a process with them. My mom says, and I'm following her instructions, is to dry them to a certain degree, then freezing them, and then putting them back into the, actually we bag them. Let me show that. The halves are taken out of the dehydrator and put into the bag right away. And they're still warm, and they cause the moisture from the condensation that happens, and it redistributes because the edges are almost brittle while the centers are still very soft or somewhat soft. So after this, they're put in the freezer, and then they're going to go back in the dehydrator after some time. There's no, you can have them in the freezer for however long you want it at that rate. They're edible at this point too, but they're not going to store very well, and they have to be stored in the freezer. But then they're going to be dried again. All these, last batch that I've got to do, they're very firm, they're hard. Some of them may have a little bit of give, but like this one has a lot of give. I mean, you can see the imprint my thumb just left, and it's pretty much all the way around. This is edible. This is a type of Japanese persimmon that you eat when it's soft. If you eat this, you will not enjoy it. It's very unpleasant. But this, you can't dry it at this point. You can freeze it. You can make you can peel this and freeze it and use it in smoothies and such. But we like to eat them fresh. And here's the trees. I could not resist plucking those. Went over there for another reason and saw those trees loaded, and I got 8 5-gallon buckets worth. Well, actually more than 40 gallons that first trip. And then my husband and I went back and just got the rest, and we got more than double that. So we have harvested over 100 gallons easily, and probably close to that I'm dehydrating or letting ripen. There's like 3 trays and some on the table. So instead of dealing with Christmas decorations and Christmas stuff, this is what I've been doing. Because I wasn't able to, at the start, do videos, I'm going to go ahead and start a tray of whole persimmons. The caps are removed. And I've had to use 2 rings. And I'm going to do this at a very low temperature because it is so big. And this is dense. Normally it's 135 for fruit. I'm going to do this at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And I will have frequent updates on a separate video of this project to the finish. So when they're finished, I put them in size baggies, so when we take them out, we're not taking out such a big bag. And these are still frozen, but you can munch on them this way. And they soften up a little bit, and they're edible. What's wild is that at this point it is very inedible, but dehydrated it's sweet and flavorful. But the ripe ones I like to eat like this. And notice, unlike the American wild persimmons, no seeds. These are seedless. So I'll have to learn how to graft. And it's very custard in texture. Similar to the wild American persimmon, but not exactly. And you can just squeeze it. And we've, when we were picking them, we'd squeeze some of the ripe ones and eat it right then. Just pulling it apart, no cutting. And sometimes during the center, see, like, that's a bad spot. It's okay. And some will start to ferment, so be careful. Sometimes you can just cut the top off. Just cut this top off and eat down that way. This is a good one. If you get a chance, try it. But if they're still hard, do not eat it. Thanks for watching.